Hi everyone, Chuck Niemer here. And like I've done in the first two videos, I'm going to continue on practicing this way. I want to share with you what I'm learning, and hopefully you can use it in your studies as well as you're working on your CTSC. So I want to reaffirm what I said before, that we're approaching this as a opinion piece. I want to share with you the things that I thought about as I was learning it. Hopefully they'll help you think about what you're learning as you practice for the CTSC here. So not going to use Apex materials on any of the slides or anything. It's just going to be the conversation that we have here and the things that we think about here. So in this third section, it's part of module one still, and we're still in section A. But one of the topics was exploring the business cases for transformation. And usually when I think of business cases, I'm thinking cost, benefit, does it make sense or not? And really what the material seems like it's looking at is more the argumentative case, I guess you'd call it, for why we should be looking at transformation. So one of the comments they make in here is that as companies, we're learning we got to transform ourselves if we want to survive and thrive, and we got to do it continuously because the rate of change is only getting busier and busier and faster and faster and faster. And kind of makes sense to me when you think about that, because what's often acceptable for you and I today almost becomes the standard expectation tomorrow. So we're expected to continue to improve in that stuff. And as that happens, we've got to be able to change and adapt accordingly to continue to keep the loyalty of the customer out there. Now, they make another comment too. Whoever stays the most agile and responsive will have the advantage. I just had a conversation with some students today where they were saying, we don't keep a lot of inventory. The challenge is to be, figuring out the right amount of inventory to be carrying so they can predict what the customer wants and have it available at the same time. And the comment I made to them is, do you really think that'll work? Because how do we know what's in the mind of the customer? We've probably got to be able to react better to what the customer is looking for. So how do we switch over or move products from one place to another so that we can be more responsive to the customers? And those who can do that can then capture the same success with the same level of inventory and don't have to carry more. So I think part of this transformation has to be, how do we go about becoming more agile and responsive? The participant guide also talked about a couple key enablers, one being begin with the end in mind, reverse engineer capabilities. And so it's that whole idea of, we're on this journey. We could look at where we are today, and we have to at some point, but really what's important is, where do we want to be tomorrow? Or it looks like the book used a term from Bill George, former leader at Medtronic. What's our true north as a company? What are we all about? And looking at what we do today in light of where we need to be tomorrow. So we've got to start with, where do we want to end up? And then work back and build in the skills, the resources, the capabilities, the changes we need in processes, et cetera, that move us and put in place and move us towards what the customer wants. Challenge, of course, is getting everybody on the same page, whether it's stakeholders or employees or, whoever all the stakeholders are. And so the participant guide poses a couple questions for us to be thinking about. Number one, what are we trying to solve? Which seems to make sense for you and I, because if we're going to change, we got to change to what, and to change the what means we defined what is, as goofy as that sounds, so that we can see the problem be solved is where we get from where we are today until tomorrow. Second question that's posed to us is an interesting one. How does the transformation that we're looking at solve the problem better than a conventional initiative? And, conventional initiative seems to imply just a normal improvement of existing processes, where a transformation saying, maybe that'll be part of it, but we're trying to make this shift into a whole new way of doing work. So we really need to think outside the box or differently, or the new ways of doing things. Just incremental improvement isn't enough. And so this is saying, can that, or how does this major shift, this major change, solve the problem, and it's going to get us more than just a normal continual improvement. Um, and a third question, which we've kind of tackled already, where are we trying to get to? What's the end game? What's the final results look like? What's the vision or the picture that we can share with our employees and ourselves on what this is going to look like, so we can assess where we are today, as well as what that path is going to take to get there. Okay. So we're reminded that when we're trying to talk to others, the book uses the term selling the stakeholders. I don't know. I guess we are trying to sell them, I suppose. We are trying to convince them, but it's got a little bit of callousness in my mind. But we're trying to help the stakeholders, those who have a an important element in our company. We're trying to get them to understand and help them understand and get them committed to, we need to make this radical change, because just tiny changes isn't going to do it in the future. So we've got to make this effort to make ourselves up to be radically different than we were before. And I think also, as a final comment, and then we'll be done with the section here, is that kind of makes sense, because if we're going to make this jump, things are changing so fast that how do we continue to make all these small changes? We probably couldn't keep up. And like a colleague mentioned to me, if you think back to the 5 stages of maturity video, my colleague made the comment that most of us will end up in stage 4 maturity, which is the kind of the we're beyond integration and we're becoming a strategic driver in stage 4, but in the supply chain. But not too many people get up to stage 5, which is fully orchestrated, and we're very much systematic and controlling in stage 5. Not too many people are going to get there, and many of them will probably step away from even trying, because it's not seeming as if it's possible. So they'll stick with the incremental changes. And so if you and I can be the one to make that jump and to take on the transformation, we're going to be well ahead of our competition at the same time. So again, when you think about this section as business cases, not necessarily dollars and cents, although that will be part of the business case, but it's the whole idea of helping people see where this direction is we're going, how it's going to help us, how it's going to make us different, make a competitive advantage occur on our behalf, and getting people to understand that this is kind of a big deal as we go through it. So that's what this section's about. So let's pop this down. Appreciate you listening, and we'll stop recording.